Meanwhile, the US has imposed a blockade on Iranian ports in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, according to international law, blockades are an act of war in a way. Therefore, the US has begun a new act of war on Iran in a way, even as the two countries are observing that 2-week ceasefire. The move by US President Donald Trump has been widely criticized, with China being among the latest to condemn the blockade.
At
a time when the relevant parties have already reached a temporary ceasefire arrangement, the US escalation of military deployment and its targeted blockade action will only exacerbate contradictions, heighten tensions, undermine the already fragile ceasefire situation, and further jeopardize the safety of passage through the Strait. This is dangerous and irresponsible behavior.
China has called Trump's behavior dangerous and irresponsible, and the US Vice President has also equated the blockade to economic terrorism, quote unquote. He says that Iran engaged in economic terrorism first, and now the US is abiding by the same principle.
They basically threatened any ship that's moving through the Straits of Hormuz. Well, as the President of the United States showed, two can play at that game. And if the Iranians are going to try to engage in economic terrorism, we're going to abide by a simple principle that no Iranian ships are getting out either. We know that's a big deal to them. We know that applies additional economic leverage.
And the US says it is blockading Iran's entire coastline. It says this is being done with the 15 warships, including the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier, reportedly. In fact, reports say that all ships are still managing to move through the strait, however. The Chinese-linked tanker Rich Starry was reportedly the first vessel to pass the strait after the blockade came into force. The US had sanctioned the ship back in 2023 for helping Iran evade sanctions, reportedly. Despite this, it managed to bypass the blockade. According to marine trackers, its last port of call is Al Hamriya in the UAE. And the US has maintained that it is only blocking traffic to and from Iranian ports. However, reports indicate that other ships, even those coming from Iranian ports, have started to cross the Hormuz Strait. One of them is one which reportedly set sail from Iran's Bushehr, reportedly. Another is a Liberia flag one which set off from Iran's Imam Khomeini port, reportedly. It seems that ships have already started to challenge the American blockade. The question is, will the US use force to stop them? And how would Iran and other nations respond to that if that happens? And earlier, we'd spoken to John Rosamondo, who is the president of Viking Research Associates, also a geostrategist and expert on U.S. national security. He spoke to us a while ago. Listen in.
Well, I would call China's reaction hypocritical. It vetoed a measure that would have called Iran to task for its violation of international law with its blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. So, I mean, we've had two times in UN history, Korea in 1950 and against Saddam Hussein in 1991, where the UN has given an authorization of force. So the President of the United States has decided to enact a low-cost effort against Iran to choke off its source of funding.